refusing to allow a former first responder by the name of Charlie Burge, who was suffering from all kinds of respiratory illnesses. They wouldn't let him leave his shoes in the hallway, and instead he was being forced by the condo to bring them in the house. And this was despite the fact that he had God knows how many doctor's notes telling the condo board that it would be detrimental to his health to bring his shoes inside. They still wouldn't give him a break.
Yeah, they've proven that the shoes would add to his problems with his lungs. I mean, What did he actually do at the 9/11 site?
You're not going to believe this, Karen. Mr. Burge worked for the Department of Sanitation, and he spent, I'm reading this, it came from the article that I think one of the local papers wrote about him, was fantastic. He spent more than 400 days clearing debris at Ground Zero.
Oh.
He was sifting through it at the Fresh Kills landfill on Staten Island, where the wreckage was being sent by the truckload. I mean, I remember they would fill up massive garbage trucks and bring them to this landfill.
So they didn't sift through it there?
No, they brought it to another place.
Oh.
He was bringing it, he was there 400 days in a row, filling up the trucks, then going to Staten Island and sifting through it. And what was he looking for? He was looking for victims' belongings and human remains.
Sure. Rings and whatever.
Can there be a tougher job? And that's the guy that the condo was giving a hard time.
I just can't believe it. And so the question is, whatever happened with this condo, and please tell me they were made to pay for their mean ways.
Yeah, so yes, they were. In fact, the United States Department of Justice sued the condo. The condo is Links South at the Harbor Village in Points Inlet, and they sued them on behalf of Charlie Burge. And when all was said and done, Mr. Burge was not only allowed to keep his shoes in the hallway, but he was also paid $40,000 from the condo. And this week, I'm going to try and get Mr. Burge on this show. This is really a terrible, terrible story, and I certainly want to get his point of view on it.
What is the condo thinking, that other people would want to leave their shoes if we allow him to?
Yeah, we allow one per. What he had, all he was asking for, what we always teach everybody is, he was asking for a reasonable accommodation. What was the big deal? He had all kinds of doctor's notes that he can't bring it in the house because he suffers from respiratory illnesses.
And if they sent a letter to everyone in the condo saying, look, this man is a hero, he did this, he's got a problem, he needs to leave his shoes out.
Who would have a problem with it, really? Right?
No
one
one
had a problem with it. So I'm glad they were made to pay.
Me too.
And this week I'm going to try to get Charlie on the show. I want to thank everybody also who took my seminar this week that I did in conjunction with Best Roofing. Really had a great show. And we taught all the new laws that were passed in the last 2 years. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in online. It was great.
Good.
Yeah, it was
Best Roofing is the best. Obviously, there's still lots of confusion out there when it comes to the new laws regarding mandatory inspections and mandatory reserve.
Yeah, there's no question about it, Karen. But today, we are lucky. We have a fantastic guest from one of our sponsors.
I can't believe he's not too busy to be here.
Yeah, that's exact. He will be. I can promise that.
Yeah.
And it's Steve Mainardi, an engineer with Rimkus. And when we get back from our first break, Steve is going to answer any questions that our listeners have regarding building repair in their condominium or HOA, and specifically how Rimkus can help our listeners get through their 30, 40, or 50-year inspections, recertifications, and do the repairs that are ultimately needed for their community.
So you mean today we get to speak to an attorney for free and an engineer for free?
Had it like this. Today our guests get to talk to an engineer for free, an attorney for free, and a beautiful co-host for free. So, yes, that is a great deal. So let's take our first break of the hour. When we get back, we're going to introduce Steve. Take your calls. Give us a call in the studio, 877-850-8585. Again, 877.
Is your home or condo looking old, worn out, and in need of a fresh look? Then you need PD Painting to paint your property and make it look like new again. PD Painting will first properly prepare your home and condo and then use only the highest quality paint products. After many years in the painting industry, PD Painting has achieved a reputation for always delivering a reliable and professional finish. PD Painting is fully licensed and insured and offers a 7 to 10-year warranty. Their technicians are expert craftsmen. Let PD Painting handle all the details and then sit back and watch them restore your property and bring back that brand new look and feel. Need a service call? PD Painting will be there on the spot. Need financing? PD Painting can offer that too. Call PD Painting at 888-416-3204. Again, that's 888-416-3204. Go to the website, pdpaintinginc.com. Need painting done in your home and community? Contact the experts at PD Painting.
This message is for anyone who has taken on the important responsibility of becoming an officer or director in a homeowner or condominium association. It is also for the management companies who work closely with these caring people to make sure things are done the right way. Hello, I'm Gil Pomar, South Florida Regional President for Center State Bank, now the second largest bank based in Florida. Our bank, Center State Bank, has an amazing team of professionals who are exclusively dedicated to the homeowner and condo association market. Your job is not easy. There are repairs and new projects that need financing. There are legal and social issues that need to be understood. There are also technology and servicing issues that your residents want to be improved. Why not choose a bank that knows this business backward and forward? Why not have a local banker who will meet with you face to face whenever it is convenient for you or your board? Center State Bank has over 2,000 associations as customers for a reason. Please give us a chance to earn your business. Call Terry Russo at 954-633-1666 to make it happen. Center State Bank is an equal housing lender and a member of the FDIC.
Need an insurance evaluation, audit, or quotation for your condo association or homeowners association? If so, then you need to speak with our insurance experts at Mack Waltz. We insure over 800 associations, and we are the clear leader in this marketplace. Mack Waltz has been in business since 1989. We write insurance on billions of dollars of property values. We are an independent insurance agency representing insurance companies which specialize in condo and HOA insurance. The staff at Mack Waltz works closely with board members and property managers and regularly attends association meetings to help educate the association about their insurance policies. To learn more about how Mack Waltz can save you money and improve your insurance program, call now 954-640-6225 and ask for Greg Waltz. 954-640-6225. Mack Waltz Insurance Group. Let us protect your association.
So welcome back to Condo Craze and HOAs here on 850 WFTL. Karen Curtis with attorney Eric Glazer. And he's board certified in community association law. He knows everything there is to know about condo and HOA law. And we also have an engineer in the house because all of you are going to be, if you're in a condo, then depending on the size of it, blah, 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 you're going to need him.
It's a real treat for our listeners. And for our listeners, let's introduce Steve Mainardi. And welcome to the show, Steve.
Good morning.
Hey,
Hi.
Thank you. Hey, first, let me thank Rimkus for being a sponsor of the Condo Craze and HOA show. And I tell our listeners all the time that if we don't have sponsors, events like we do don't happen.
Right.
And this radio show doesn't happen. So I really want to thank you, and I want to thank Rimkus for being a sponsor. So appreciated.
Well, it's our pleasure. Programs such as these, this is the best way to get the word out. It's a great way to stay informed for upcoming news and legislation which affect our community.
Yeah.
So thank you.
That's what we try to do all the time. Thank you. And just tell us a little bit about yourself and your qualifications. He gave me his curriculum vitae.
Oh,
it was like
Steven?
7 pages. So if he just read that, the show is over.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you got to narrow it down.
impressive.
I'll give the Reader's Digest, but I'm Vice President of Strategic Growth at Delta Engineering, which is a Rimkus corporation. It's part of the Built Environment Solutions Group. I'm a licensed professional engineer, a licensed and certified reserve specialist, and I have 24 years experience in building restoration and consulting.
This is the
Wow,
guy.
you're the man.
Yeah, who, if you have questions about recertification, if you have questions about your 30, your 40, your 50-year milestone inspections, this is the guy that we have in the house today that can answer any of those questions.
I like that he's a reserve specialist, because then
as
you
well.
have an idea of what you really need.
Exactly.
And you don't panic.
Tell us a little bit about, what Rimkus does specifically.
So Rimkus, we're a consulting engineering company. We're 40 years old. We specialize in forensic consulting, dispute resolution, construction management services, services for the built environment, which is a group I'm very proud to be a part of, as well as development of products and processes for healthcare, industrial. We offer a wide range of services like building envelope solutions, construction advisory, energy and resilience, real estate, restoration, but most importantly, milestone inspections, structural integrity reserve studies.
Yeah.
Yes.
So more like what Rimkus, what don't they do, quite frankly?
What's a building envelope?
Building envelope is really the outside of the building. So we're talking about
Shell.
the walls,
Yeah.
the shell. Exactly. Okay. Yes, exactly. Eric.
So I just want to ask you a real quick question. We were talking about it before the show went on. You know, everybody's going to get this 30, 40, or 50-year letter in the mail from their building official. But, you know, is it best to wait until you get that letter, or should you kind of be proactive before you get that letter and kind of keep your building in good shape?
Well, you know, my recommendation is always to get a head start on anything, because what's going to happen, we're going to see a tsunami as the timeline starts to shorten for the requirement for the SEERs and the milestones. It's going to be very difficult to procure engineers and the right inspectors. So I always recommend our clients, listen, contact us, let us get started, let's get in the schedule, you know, continue to maintain your building, but really don't wait, because it's not going
so
away.
you know, when it comes to structural inspections or recertifications as required for Dade and Broward, many of our listeners are concerned that the condo needs to be brought up to the current code. Everybody freaks out. Oh my God, we're an old building. We'll never be able to afford coming up to the current code, and they freak out. But I understand, you know, that's not true.
Yeah, that's a big misnomer that's out there. You know, the intent of the milestone is for the safety and structural adequacy of a building. In fact, the statute specifically excludes looking at construction defects and code defects.
Really?
Yes, it's only looking at the structure. Now, however, if in fact the structural integrity is below code at the time of the construction, yes, then the engineer will design the repair to where it should have been to begin with. But by no means is this going to require an older association to be brought up to code.
Okay, so you can breathe a little bit there.
Oh my gosh. But if it's unsafe or there's a problem and there is a fix, it will be brought to code.
Well, that component will be brought up to the code at the time of construction if it's deficient.
Let's just talk about real quick the differences between Dade and Broward when it comes to the milestone inspections and the recertifications. Dade and Broward, it's a little tougher. Our listeners that are in Dade and Broward, it's tougher for them to comply. Can you kind of give us some information on that?
Yeah, certainly. So Dade and Broward always had the recertification program. We know that. That's something we've been living with for a long time. This milestone inspection now encompasses the whole state. But where does that leave Broward and Dade counties? The recertification program will always be there.
Yeah.
So that's going to be there. But it goes hand in hand with the milestone inspection. So with the recertification program, there's a structural component. And that structural component parlays into the milestone inspection. Now, with the recertification, we know there's also the electrical.
That's the difference as I understand it. You have, let's say, 67 counties in the state of Florida. 65 only have to do structural. Dade and Broward have to do more.
Correct. Yeah, Dade and Broward have to do the electrical, and then Dade has to do the lighting as well.
Really?
So it is a little different. Those two counties are still special.
Yeah.
Why, though?
Because I think the answer to the why question is, tell me if I'm wrong, Steve, because that's the way it's always been.
Got it.
Right? I mean,
Spoken like a true dad.
I mean, if your building official wants you to jump in order for you to, you know, pass an inspection, it's pretty much you got to jump.
That's above and beyond the law.
No, this is the law in Dade. They
But
can
I'm saying
do that.
the state law.
It's above and beyond the state law. That's
Correct.
exactly correct.
Correct.
Dade and Broward are stricter in the state law. You know, let's pretend, you know, one of our listeners gets a mandatory milestone inspection letter or a mandatory recertification letter. You know, they get it in the mail, they're like, uh-oh, you know, what should the board do next? And two things. What the board should do next, and tell everybody specifically how Rimkus is there to help them.
And what's your phone number?
Yeah.
Well, certainly if a board gets a milestone letter or recertification, you know, don't panic. This is just part of the process. But if they haven't already done so, they do need to contact a reputable, qualified structural engineering company, a firm that has a long-standing record, one that is qualified in building inspections, expertise in inspections, and particularly doing milestones, and more importantly, a firm that's licensed in the state of Florida.
Yeah.
And is also insured with errors and omissions
You know how many
insurance.
times this happens where, you know, Karen, we talk about this on the show. Clients will come to me after they signed a contract. Eric, can we get out of this contract? And I look, and the corporation, well, sometimes they're not even a corporation. You can't find them on Sunbiz. Number two, they're not licensed. Nobody there is licensed. It happens all the time. So are you telling our listeners that sometimes it's possible to meet up with a company or a guy that's not licensed? Really? Something like that can happen?
Can I get errors and omissions insurance?
No.
Sounds like a good thing to have,
yes.
especially if you're signing these contracts.
It is, but if these condos are entering into corporations, entering into contracts with corporations that basically are not
Don't
there,
meet any
and
of
they
these
have no errors and omissions as well. Have you seen that in your career? How many times condos have signed up with companies that, oh my God, they're not even licensed? I mean, Florida's known for that.
How can they be a business?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it does happen. It absolutely happens in the contracting world, in the engineering world as well. Yeah, they may offer and put out that they're an engineering firm, but again, are they truly licensed? Are they reputable, long-standing experience?
Right.
Isn't that illegal?
Do they have insurance? Now, you're not required to carry the errors and omissions, and that's why we're seeing a lot of smaller, even companies from out of town just show up overnight. Like these firms are just popping up that are offering these services.
Of course.
And we think that's going to be problematic down the road, and I'll get into
But isn't
why.
it illegal to be unlicensed?
Well, sure. If you're going to do the work, no
wouldn't
question.
that nullify the contract?
Yeah, technically, yes. But now you paid this contractor $25,000 down payment to do work. He's gone.
Yeah.
And you know when I find that this happens most, Steve? After a hurricane.
Yeah.
Like
That's awful.
Like certainly after Wilma, right? Certainly after Andrew, we had how many fake companies coming down here?
Sad.
Just saying that they were contractors. People were paying huge deposits on contracts, and then they were gone, absolutely gone. But I want to ask you one question. So there's a lot that condos have to do, when they approach their 30 year. They have to certainly, of course, get an architect or engineer to do the individual inspections. They got to send out bids. They need an engineer to maybe send out those bids. Then they have general contractors to do the work. So what I'm hearing from you, Rimkus does all of that. You can do all of that work with one company instead of finding all different companies to do the inspection, to do the work, to do the bid package. You're a one-stop shop.
Yes. Yeah. Rimkus not only meets the qualifications that we just talked about with certified inspectors, licensed professional engineers, and certified reserve specialists, but we can perform not just the phase one, which is a little bit looser standard on the requirement on who can inspect, but we can do the phase two. We can design the repair. If needed, we could assist in the bidding of the work for the associations. And then do the oversight and state-required threshold inspections for the structural work. So, we're basically a turnkey company, and there's a big benefit to clients. And clients don't realize that. They may want to go with that cheapest guy on the initial phase one, but what happens if it goes into phase two, or if there's work that needs to be done? They need to go to another engineer, which then the other engineer, the new engineer, he's going to have to reinspect.
Of course.
He cannot rely...
So it's cheaper to go this way.
Much cheaper in the long run.
Cheap is expensive. I always say that, without a doubt. And it just... I always teach, regarding the phase one and phase two inspections, if you're a phase one inspector, right, I always say, what is the harm in the phase one inspector, though, saying it's probably a good idea to get a phase two inspector? I mean, after... we had a terrible building collapse in Surfside. Do you agree that if I'm the phase one guy, maybe I'm wrong.
Well, he's got errors and omissions, though.
But if I'm the phase one guy, what do I have to lose by saying probably a good idea if you get a phase two?
So really, Karen, no, they may not have errors and omissions insurance. Again, these can be guys that just put themselves out. They meet the minimum qualifications for phase one. But what really is the intent of doing this? It's to ensure that building is safe.
Sure, of course.
You want to have somebody that knows what he's looking at.
Yeah.
You want to have those qualifications and experience of whoever that is that you're doing.
It. It's so clear.
Yeah.
I really tried to push the Florida legislature over the years to have some form of mandatory reserves for condominiums. And it only happened after 98 people died in Surfside, unfortunately.
Terrible.
Yeah, and I know that everybody's bill is going to go up now as a result of requiring mandatory reserves, but how do you feel when you meet a condominium, it's time to do some repairs, and they have $0 in the bank because they didn't reserve a penny?
Oh, it's terrible. It really is terrible, because in those instances, the engineer is the bearer of bad news.
Yeah, of course.
And he's basically telling people, listen, you have to fork over money, and no one really likes to do that.
Yeah.
But think of the whole reserve concept as your retirement plan. the earlier you start putting into this plan, the better you can live your life later.
Yeah,
so if you don't pay into it from the very beginning or catch up, it's problematic.
Absolutely.
And we know with Surfside that there was issues with funding.
Well, they needed $15 million to make repairs, and they had $700,000 in the bank. Think of that. They were $14.3 million short.
And they needed to make the repairs immediately.
Yeah, they needed to make the repairs 3 years before.
Right.
They were warned about it, but
they were warned 3 years before.
They were.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about the 98 people in any bad way. That's not my intent. But I always tell everybody, Steve, that we can argue all day about.
It's not their fault. Isn't it the board's fault?
Well,
basically.
Yeah. Well, they needed $14.3 million and needed to raise it during COVID. It was hard. But I always say we can argue all day long about the technical reasons why the building collapsed. Was it the pool deck? Was it the underground garage? Was it the materials used? You can talk about that all day. But the reason that the building fell is lack of money. That's why the building fell. If they had the money on hand 3 years ago to make the repairs, and it was much less, it was only about $5 million. When they were initially told. But they didn't have that. So, again, I'm all in favor of reserves, and I think, Steve, you are too. I think it's so important. But the law now, it requires condominiums 3 stories or higher. And again, that's the same law for Dade and Broward when it comes to reserves. Just want to make sure everybody understands that. The reserve laws are the same all across the state, including Dade and Broward. It requires now a structural integrity reserve study, commonly known as a SIRS study, a SIRS study. And that study needs to figure out how much each unit owner has to contribute towards reserves going forward. And I got to tell you, a lot of condos are freaking out about doing it. They don't know how to do it. They can't find the personnel to do it. Is that something Rimkus does?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we have over 23 years of conducting just reserve studies, so as well as structural inspections. So when this law passed, it was, yes, Rimkus does structural evaluations. Yes, Rimkus does reserve studies. So this is now, again, this law is really a benefit, I think, to the overall community, as you mentioned previously, to ensure that we have those funding
3 stories,
available.
and then in some cases it's also square footage.
For the reserve study, and this is where everybody gets confused.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back. For the reserve study, with the new laws, you have the reserve study and you have the inspection laws.
Okay,
right?
okay.
For the reserve study portion, it applies to every condo 3 stories or higher. Okay, and you have to be 3 stories or higher. So in Dade and Broward, the reserve laws don't apply to you, right? If you're not 3 stories.
Okay.
However, now let's talk about the inspection laws. The inspection laws only kick in 65 counties. I think Florida has 67. In 65 counties, it only kicks in if you're 3 stories or higher. Dade and Broward, height does not matter. Dade and Broward, it goes by square footage of your property.
Oh, so you can be 1 story, but if you're
3,500 square feet, or I think 2,000 square feet in Dade, 3,500 square feet in Broward, I think those are the numbers. Then, regardless of height, bottom line is those inspections apply to you, and
but
those
not the
recertifications.
reserves.
But reserves kick in.
Got it.
3 stories or higher.
My question is, before this law passed, how busy was Rimkus?
Well, I think like most structural engineering companies, we were busy.
You were busy.
Even prior.
That's
so
good.
this leads
That's
into
good.
the next question perfectly. Everyone's worried that now there simply isn't enough qualified experts for these inspections and the reserve studies. Specifically, how is Rimkus prepared to meet the needs of God knows how many condos now that need these reserve studies and these recertifications?
Well, Rimkus, we have over 110 offices worldwide. We have over 100 licensed Florida professional engineers that are ready to do these structural milestone inspections and SEERs. So we are quite well equipped. We have a very deep bench. We're not a one person type of outfit. So we have resources and have been implementing these resources since May when the law first got passed.
Fantastic. All right, so the most important question of the day: how does everybody get in touch with you?
Yes.
www.rimkus.com.
Oh.
Okay, we got a telephone number you want to use?
We have a number you can reach us at 941-727-2600. You can go on our website as well. I believe we have an 800 number there. I don't know that right off the top of my head.
All right.
It's RIM.
KUS.
KUS. Rimkus.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to work with you guys.
Yes.
Pleasure to know you.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much. Are you going to stick around and answer some questions?
Oh, absolutely.
Because I know we got some callers calling in. All right, keep the calls coming. We're got to take our bottom of the hour break. 877-850-8585. Again, 877-850-85. We'll be back right after this. Good job.
Very, very good.
Thank you.
The future of fiber is here. QXC Communications is a fiber network engineering firm based in Boca Raton. We build fiber networks that deliver high-speed internet, Wi-Fi, HDTV, and voice services, primarily to Florida's condominium communities. QXC's AON architecture is the industry's best practice and a game changer for our customers. We run 2 dedicated fibers to each unit. No splitters, no cables. So, every resident gets uninterrupted blazing fast speed and military-grade data security. Our Wi-Fi 6 network deployment powers performance on multiple devices with no dead zones. And the QXC TV app makes everyday programming access a breeze with 3-day rewind and optional cloud DVR. QXC AON Fiber is where the industry is heading. Get connected today.
Is your condominium or HOA in need of accounting services? Look no further. Gerstel, Rosen & Goldenberg is one of South Florida's largest accounting and auditing firms, as recognized by the South Florida Business Journal, and is one of the few accounting firms uniquely specialized to provide accounting services to their growing condominium and homeowner association clientele throughout Florida. With primary offices in Aventura and Boca Raton, satellite offices in Naples and Orlando, and a professional staff of 65, Gerstel, Rosen & Goldenberg is prepared to meet the needs of any condominium or HOA in the state. The professionals at Gerstel, Rosen & Goldenberg also have experience working with timeshares, cooperatives, hotel condominiums, mixed-use buildings, and ancillary operations like restaurants, spas, and country clubs. Put their 25 years experience in your corner. Gerstel, Rosen & Goldenberg, 305-937-0116. That's 305-937-0116 or grgcpa.com.
Someday, you will need insurance. And for that day, you'll be glad you wrote down Insurco Insurance and Financial Services. Why? Because Insurco virtually insures everything. They're a full-line insurance agency that'll put together the best possible coverage and premium for almost anything. Need homeowners or condo insurance? Call Insurco. Need auto or motorcycle insurance? Call Insurco. How about golf cart insurance or trailer and RV insurance? Just call Insurco for a free quote. They're open every day. From renter's insurance, officers and directors insurance, and personal liability umbrellas to all types of business insurance, boat insurance, cancer policies, life, health, and annuities. All you need is Insurco. Get a free quote. They service Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach. Speak English and Spanish. Insurco Insurance and Financial Services. It's the only name you need. Office at 14401 West Sunrise Boulevard in Sunrise, inside Edmore Chevrolet.
Call 954-846-1206. 954-846-1206. That's 954-846-1206.
All over the world, people have plumbing problems. These problems can be expensive and destructive to fix. Have you ever wondered if there was a way to take care of your plumbing problems without destruction and an outrageous price tag? Welcome to Pipelining Technologies, Inc., where we specialize in fixing your problems without demolition and minimum cutting by means of pipelining. Pipelining is the ability to take a pipe damaged by root intrusion or long-term deterioration and make it new. By means of inserting an epoxy-saturated liner into the pipe and allowing it to harden or cure, leaving behind a brand new pipe.
That sounds great. How can I get pipelining in my home, commercial building, or condominium?
Simply fill out our online contact form and a pipelining representative will get in touch with you in a timely fashion. Or call us directly at 561-853-5463.
The future of fiber is here.
Live on YouTube. If you want to go there, Condo Craze and HOAs, and ask your question in the chat box. We are live there. You're not going to be able to hear the calls coming into the station, but I'll kind of do a synopsis of them. And we have an engineer live in the studio with us, Steven Mainardi. The number to call to speak to him is 877-850-8585, 877-850-8585. Again, you can also ask questions in the chat box. We're taking questions for the engineer because of this milestone inspection, that law that
Steve,
was passed.
I had a question that we didn't get to the first time. What's your take on the new laws? How do you feel about them generally?
Well, I actually feel very good, and I think it's been a long time coming throughout the state, both for the milestone inspection and for the SEERS, that's the Structural Integrity Reserve Study. I mean, it's something that had to change to ensure that our common interest associations have the necessary funding.
Yeah.
Because there hasn't been that mechanism. There's been, like you said, Dade and Broward County did have the inspections, but there was no mechanism to fund. So think of it this way. We have inspections required for elevators,
right,
fire sprinklers.
But not for the building
pumps,
safety itself.
Not for the safety of the structure.
Kind of
no,
crazy.
Yes.
I tell people that, and they find this impossible to believe when I teach, that if somebody built a building in Palm Beach County, right over the line, basically, in Palm Beach County from Broward, that building never had to go through another inspection for the rest of its life. And people find, come on, never? That building's never inspected? Yeah, that building's never inspected.
Right. So this is a step in the right direction. The implementation, however, is a hurdle.
What's the pitfalls?
The law is new.
Yeah.
Not many people are even the experts who are doing this don't have a true understanding of the statute. Now, I'll give you an example. We had a property manager who came to me and he said, Steve, I'm getting quotes all over the board for these milestones. I got $5,000 to $30,000.
Wow, what a range!
Right, and they contacted several engineers to do that. So there's some pitfalls. Again, you need to who's doing this work? Are they qualified?
Right.
But more importantly, do they understand the statute and the law? And the law states this: all habitable, habitable and uninhabitable space must be inspected. Right. Now, these are visual, high level. But it doesn't say a representative sampling of 10% of the units.
Right.
No, it doesn't, because you don't know. The engineer really doesn't know unless he goes into that unit where Mrs. Smith hasn't been there for 3 years that there's a major crack in the floor slab.
Right.
So these things need to be looked at. And that's the first thing that I see where there's disparity.
Really?
The second is the qualification of the person that's doing the work.
Well, it's kind of strange, but it used to be, until last year, that it had to be only architects or engineers. Now there's a new standard to do the reserve study. It could be done by somebody who meets the qualifications of CAI, and I'm not sure what that means. And, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't find that to be beneficial. Now, I'm a certified reserve specialist, and there's several individuals in our firm who are. However, by being a certified reserve specialist doesn't mean that you have expertise in structure.
Right.
So, for the SEERS inspection, that requirement is there to help loosen things up.
Yeah.
And for the milestone phase 1 as well. Yeah. I see that to be problematic down the road.
That was my position, and it means much more coming from you than me. How about we take our first call of the hour?
Who do we have, BJ?
Hey, Julia. Good morning. You have a question about the foundation and parking area. Julia?
Hold on.
We're going to take this slow because we're having problems broadcasting the callers. So what you say, I'm going to repeat.
On YouTube, yeah.
Okay, so you had a question about the foundation, right? Okay, you want to resurface the parking area. Okay. Who suggested that? Wait, hold up. So you want to resurface the parking area, and somebody told you that it needs to be completely ripped up and redone.
Because that's one of the bids.
Right, from one of the bids. Okay. Now, who told you that? So 2 engineering companies told you that, right, rather than just resurface it.
Never assume they're licensed.
Yeah. Okay, so what's your question? It's a tough question, Yeah, one of our sponsors does that work too, driveway maintenance. That's what they're there for. That's what they do all the time. But Steve, I don't know if you heard the question basically, but Is it common for somebody to come out and say your whole new parking lot needs to be torn up and redone?
Can't they just resurface it?
So is this parking lot elevated or is it on grade? In other words, is it on the ground or is it elevated? It's on the ground.
It's on the ground.
Okay, so the pavement is not part of the Sears requirement.
Oh.
Okay, so it's not part of the Sears requirement. It's not part of the milestone requirement.
Okay.
The fact that you have two engineers, maybe two different engineers, telling you the same thing, I would say, and they both agree. Personally, I would say you probably want to go with a recommendation because both of them are pretty consistent. You're looking for a third to say you don't need to. Well.
Yeah. Good point.
But it's not required unless it's a structural issue. Right. So keep that in mind.
Oh, okay. So Steve, I guess one says that resurfacing is fine. I mean, I'm just telling you, I don't know what it means to even tear up the parking lot. I'm not even sure what that means.
I guess all the concrete or whatever it is that.
With concern with sinkholes.
I wouldn't be so concerned in our location, and I'm assuming this is South Florida.
Yeah. Hollandale.
They have a sinkhole issue, maybe. I would bring both those engineers in separately, and I would sit and interview them a little bit more thoroughly on their concept and as to why.
I will tell you that one time I represented a I will hold on 1 second. Hold on. I was once representing a condominium in Aventura. And they had a parking garage, right? But on the first floor, they would paint the poles, the poles between each spot, the concrete poles. You come back 6 months later, all of a sudden, where you painted, underneath it was another unpainted poles.
It's sinking?
So the parking floor itself was actually sinking.
Yeah.
And I think that's more common in South Florida condominiums than we think.
Because they built it on sand.
Right.
So those are not sinkhole. Those are settlement issues. Those are issues where the soil may be, have debris over time, settlement and stuff like that. If you have settlement issues, they should be remediated, and there's methods to do that. Certainly. Yeah.
If you don't paint the poles.
Well, suppose you don't take care of something like that. I mean, because that's something that could lead to a much bigger problem, like a collapse.
Well, this goes to the milestone part. So if we're seeing things like that in part of our milestone inspections that could adversely affect the structural integrity of the building, yes, all bets are off. It has to get fixed.
Okay. Julia, I know you had a follow-up. Hey, Julia, the bottom line is at election time, you elect the people on the board of directors to make very important decisions for you. And if it comes a point where you're not happy with those decisions that they make, the answer is twofold. A, run for the board yourself. That's we got to tell people.
If you think the board is stupid.
Right. And B, there's a recall process where you get, 50% plus one of the community to vote them out. And that's how you get them out. Okay, we got to go. We got to take our final break of the hour.
Thank you.
No problem. For those of you on hold, please just hang in there. Keep the calls coming. Don't wait till the last minute. 877-850-85.
There are very large management companies, and there are very small management companies. And I think Affinity sits somewhere in the middle of that, where they are big enough to provide you with all of the back of the house services, the accounting, the infrastructure, the support systems, but small enough to be high touch.
We believe at Affinity that we do the 9 to 5 so that you don't have to do that.
Oh, no! an unexpected leak. Jay, you know that's no way to solve a roof problem. Call Best Roofing. We solve roof problems.
We are DMI Paving and Seal Coating, Florida's parking lot experts. We specialize in asphalt paving and repair, including pothole repair, seal coating using JC7 or polytar, concrete curbs, ramps, and walkways, and striping and pavement marking, as well as ADA compliance. We service commercial properties, including homeowners associations, apartment communities, shopping malls, warehouses, stadiums and arenas, and more. Experience is worth more than anything in an industry like ours, and our staff has decades of it. We have specialized equipment for any job, regardless of size, saving you time and money. DMI has a reputable history. We have been in business since 1956. We serve the state of Florida from 6 locations. Let us bid on your next parking lot project. Visit us online at dmipavingandsealcoating.com.
Rimkus Consultants offer the professional expertise to help condominium and cooperative communities provide safe, compliant buildings for their tenants. We have more than 170 Florida licensed engineers and architects who are experienced with local regulations and can assist with Senate Bill 4D compliance. We can help with milestone structural inspections, capital expenditure evaluations, structural integrity reserve studies, and developer transition reports. Focusing on energy, resilience, maintainability, and sustainability, our experts can help with every phase of the building life cycle. For mitigation after a catastrophic event, building restoration, repair and remediation consulting, or Senate Bill 4D inspections, please visit rimkus.com.
Ways you can ask questions in the chat box, and I just want to quickly get your schedule out for your seminars, which are free.
Yeah, really quick. We're going to be all over the state. Remember that if you don't get certified within 90 days of getting on the board, or within 1 year of getting on the board, you are off the board. So here we go. We're going to run them off. October 3rd, Orlando at the Orange County Convention Center.
And October 10th, the Broward, actually Signature Grand off 595.
Yeah, October 17th, Miami at the Hyatt Regency Hotel.
October 19th, Palm Beach, the Palm Beach Convention Center.
We're not going to be in Naples, actually, but we are going to be in Bradenton at the Bradenton Convention Center.
On the 24th of October. 25th, then you're going to be in Tampa at the Tampa Bay Convention Center.
Right.
To register, go to the website, condocrazyandhoas.com, and he teaches everything that you need to know
a
about.
lot to know this year about the milestone inspections, the safety laws, the reserves. So very important that you guys go, even if you just live in a condo and you're not on the board. Okay, while we were on the break, we had a question come in from Daniel Pina from PD Painting, another one of our fantastic sponsors. And here we go. Is it a conflict of interest to have the engineer doing the construction work? So I'm going to throw that out to you, Steve.
We have an engineer here, Steven Mainardi.
Steve, what do you think?
I personally believe that's a conflict of interest. I think the engineer needs to be separate from the contractor.
And your company does not do that.
We don't do the construction. Only the engineering consultant. So there's not a vested interest by that person to do more work. Whereas if he's part of the construction team, then of course.
I can't believe sometimes I'm handed a contract that an engineer gives me for my association client, and he gets paid more if the value of the job is more. Ooh. I'm like, wait a minute, isn't it the job of the engineer to keep the price low? You tell me, Steve. What do you think?
Our firm doesn't take that position as far as putting a percentage of fee on the cost of work, because I think, again, there's a conflict there as far as an interest in more work, more fee. Our firm works straight by the hour or on lump sum. Okay. So for our series and milestones, it's a lump sum. This is the price.
And that's it.
Everything all included.
Gotcha.
Anything else beyond that, any repair work or oversight, yes, it's hourly and not graduated or associated with the cost of construction.
But you do repair work, but you don't do construction.
We do the design for the repair work, not the construction itself.
Okay.
Another question: ask if all the construction teams are subcontractors or employees. But you don't do the actual construction.
No, our firm does not. Again, separate and apart. The engineer and the contractor should be separate entities.
Okay. Daniel, thank you so much for those questions. I'll tell you what, how about we go to another call? Who do we got?
BJ. Barry.
Okay. And Barry, you're absolutely correct. And just for the audience, a special inspector is another level of certification that an engineer, a structural engineer, would have.
Is that an SE designation? Is that what we're talking about?
We call it it's SI actually.
Okay.
And you may hear someone that has an SI or special inspector. They're also a threshold inspector. So
Okay.
it is the same. And like Barry said, there's a very limited resource pool.
Are you one of them?
Our firm is. Myself, no, but we have people in our firm who are doing this that are certainly special inspectors. Yes.
So I didn't know this. So just to clarify, even if you're an architect, even if you're an engineer, there are certain things still you cannot do, like fill in the blank.
Well, I mean, you have to have expertise in a certain area that you're practicing in. So you're not going to be doing work on mechanical systems if you're a structural guy.
So you still can't do the milestone inspections or the recertifications if you don't have that special designation?
Not correct. So it's for the 40-year
for the 40-year recertification.
Yes, and for the repairs, to oversee the repairs of any structural job, you need to have a special inspector also doing that work.
Right.
And I guess to Barry's point in question is there's just not a lot of them. Now, Barry, the state did pass a new, or I should say the Florida Board of Professional Engineers passed a new guideline for what they call it's a limited threshold inspector. So we believe those numbers are going to go up greatly now because, quite frankly, the rules and regs to qualify for that were very
stringent,
very stringent, but almost not feasible for a lot of engineers.
Wow. And so that's how many? What's the numbers again, Barry? So that's what we're talking about. Literally a handful of people that are qualified to do these recertifications
in Miami-Dade and Broward.
And that's been the case.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
But Rimkus is able to accommodate it.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Unreal. This is wild. Barry.
That was a good
Barry
one.
always lets us know. Fantastic call today.
Good question.
Always lets us know. Just a lot of times these legislative provisions are just rushed through and not thought of.
Any of those special inspectors at your firm named Clouseau?
Yeah, right.
No, sorry.
VJ, anybody else we got? Margot in Miami. How are you, Margot? We got to do it real fast. You got a minute. Part of your garage is subgrade. Okay. Mm-hmm. And there are lots of puddles during a rainstorm.
Ugh. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. You can answer that, Steve. What's going on? Why is it flooding and why is the drains backing up?
Well, certainly it sounds like you have a drainage problem going on there as far as the puddling. Maybe things are not sloped to drain properly, but you also have another issue. You have drains backing up. I mean, certainly this is something you want to look at. There could be a number of causes for this, depending on where it is. You mentioned this is subgrade, so we could have a water table issue that's going on here. And we could have some. The plumbing actually may be deficient in some respects. Yeah. So I would get that scoped personally. Look at it. Have an engineer analyze this as well, because certainly you shouldn't be getting geysers that are popping up through the drains. Yeah. As it rains.
Ponding water in a garage makes me nervous, especially if it's really bad and it's affecting the concrete poles. I mean, Steve, tell us. Hold on one second. Margo. I was always taught. People think that concrete is non-porous, but it is. It soaks up the water, from what I understand.
Yeah, 100% it is. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, so if an underground garage is sitting there with water, are the columns being affected?
Yeah, they could be. The concrete is affected. The key is to get it evaporate. Within a certain time frame, a reasonable time frame, have adequate drainage. Because the more water sits, yes, you're going to have issues.
Margo, what's your second question?
So that is actually part of that whole structural integrity reserve study. Now they used to be part, foundation was in there, they kind of took it out and they kind of lumped it all in because, how do you inspect piles that are in the ground and deep? Yeah. So really what we do and what you should be relying on is the engineer looking at signs or telltale issues of things that are problematic that may be associated with pile failure or deterioration. But without doing any type of highly expensive testing, even destructive investigation and excavation, it's very difficult to just look at it. We like to look at it, again, with a trained eye to see if we see issues and then make recommendations on a protocol.
Gotcha. Okay. To do it, it could be done, but it's just expensive.
Anything could be done with money.
Yeah, well, right.
Like ground penetrating radar, or how does that work?
You can use ground penetrating radar. You can use excavation. You can use other methods, but you have to be careful again because you don't want to remove soils. It certainly could.
Right.
Yeah. So if you think you have an issue, that's something you want to be consulting with a structural engineer or a geotechnical engineer.
Yeah, Margot, don't do it by yourself. Whatever you do.
Yes, please. Thank you, Margot.
Thanks for the call.
He's really good.
You got it. Absolutely. Thank you.
Isn't the other thing spalling? What's that called?
Spalling? You can certainly tell us what spalling is.
Because we got
30
concrete.
seconds. Steve, how do we get in touch with Rimkus? We got 30 seconds.
www.rimkus.com is the best way, and that's RIMKUS.com. Or our telephone number at the Delta office. Again, we have offices all over, but my number directly is 941-727-2600.
Hey, I want to thank you for coming today. Sundays, it's not easy.
Thank you.
And I want to thank Rimkus for being a sponsor. So appreciated. Guys, we'll see you and speak to you again next Sunday at 11 on Condo Craze and HOAs. Everybody have a wonderful, safe week.
Thank you.
Thank you.